listening to the Bleeding Big Blue podcast. Alex Ivis Produce back again, your host. Our podcasts are available on Podbean, Spotify, and right here on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel and like and comment on all of our videos. I had some pretty good guests on the past couple weeks. Alan Hahn from 98.7 ESPN, Giants YouTuber Cop Pizzle, and Talking Giants co-host Justin Pennick, who was just on Monday. So you can go check those episodes out on those platforms if you have not already. Today we had on Giants defensive tackle Stacey Dillard, who played from 1992 to 95. Here's the interview from earlier. Now we are joined by former Giants defensive tackle Stacey Dillard. Stacey, how's quarantine treating you?
Man, it's really slow here in Texas. You know, being an athletic director and used to going to a lot of athletic events on a weekly and daily basis, to have that all taken away, I'm relegated to my front porch or my back porch and doing a lot of phone interviews, trying to hire coaches.
Well, at least you're doing something, you know, keep you going, keep you active. First question, you played for a couple of years at Oklahoma before being drafted by the Giants in 92. How many years did you play at Oklahoma, and as a former collegiate player, how would you differentiate the path from college to the NFL then and today?
I was at Oklahoma 5 years. I redshirted there. I came out of Clarksville, Texas. It's funny you say that. I talked to a couple of my teammates from Oklahoma, and that was the exact conversation we had, was the biggest difference between athletes then and now. And we kind of came up with the conclusion, like, I think these athletes are a lot more athletic than we were, but it was a different type of game. Some of these guys that are defensive ends, I don't know if they would have had to have a different build to be in what was the Big Eight at the time when I was at Oklahoma. Nebraska being in there, Colorado and Missouri, and those guys love to run the ball, and 70% of the time you was playing run first. So far as a D lineman, I think it's changed a lot in the fact that people throw the ball a lot more. I think at one point I was the fourth leading sacker at Oklahoma, and I think I had 10. And now guys get 10 sacks in a season. So it has changed a lot.
When you came into the league in 92, you played with some Super Bowl 25 leftovers like Lawrence Taylor, Pepper Johnson, Steve DiAsi, John Washington, Carl Banks, and Leonard Marshall. When you first came into the league, who was your main mentor and why?
You know what? It was probably Lewis Tillman. Lewis was in the locker room. Our lockers was next door to each other, and we actually got to know each other really well, and we're actually really close friends still. But with him having a little more experience in the league than I did at the time, he was someone that talked to me about how to spend my money and how to just adapt to the NFL life. Phil Sims was also on the other side that gave me a lot of lessons of how to, what rookie life was like and how to become a pro on and off the field. Those two guys probably had the biggest impact on me while I was at the
Giants. Another Giants icon, formerly known probably in this decade, well, not this decade, but this century more like, Michael Strahan. You played next to him from 93 to 95. How was he as a young player?
Man, I tell people all the time, Michael is a great guy. What you see on TV with Michael, talking and having a good time and being genuine, who he was back then, and that's who he is still today. I laughed with Michael because I remember when he got drafted, I thought he was too small. And, I told at the time the defensive line coach, Earl Leggett, I said, well, man, he's too small. He's not going to make it in this league. And I guess a few years later, he's in the Hall of Fame. So, and I'm coaching high school football. So I guess I kind of, that's why I'm not drafting people. So he definitely panned out for the Giants.
Your defensive coordinator, I think in '93, was Mike Nolan. Now he's the defensive coordinator of the Cowboys now with Mike McCarthy's new staff. What did you think of him? How was he as a defensive coach?
I like Mike. He was, at the time, he was a young. I think that may have been his first defensive coordinator position. He was young and had a lot of energy. Real sharp. Did a lot of good stuff there with us. I think I was only there with about 2 years with him, but I like Mike. He's going to do a good job for the Cowboys.
For some reason, according to my research, I couldn't find much of what happened after 1995. What did happen? Did you keep playing? Were you hoping a team could pick you up? What happened after '95 in your last season with the Giants?
After I got released by the Giants, I ended up going to the Eagles, and I was there for about 4 games with the Eagles in preseason. And after that, I got released by the Eagles, and to me, that was a sign for me to tell me it was time for me to move on. And I ended up just retiring, stopped playing football, and start working with kids here in Texas. Go ahead.
As a former Giant, former football player, did you have any sort of influence on your children? Did they play football in middle school, high school, or maybe even college?
Yes. It's funny, I'm a defensive lineman, and both my boys were offensive players. My oldest son was a quarterback. He played for me at Princeton High School in Princeton, Texas, and he ended up going to Mississippi College and playing quarterback for them. He ended up about 6 foot 180. My second son was about 6'4", 215. He ended up going to Texas Tech and playing receiver for Texas Tech. He eventually transferred from Texas Tech and went to Central Arkansas, where he graduated on, I guess, last December from Central Arkansas. He had an invite to San Diego Chargers at the time, and nothing really panned out for that, and he's kind of given up on his football dream, and I recently hired him as a coach at my high school.
How is he as a coach?
I hope he's going to be good. This is his first year. Obviously, he hasn't coached before, but he's coaching with my junior high, and he's been around it long enough. I think he's going to be a great one.
You were a coach, and if I'm getting this right, you were a coach at Princeton High School, and if you still are, but you still had the experience as a high school coach. Obviously, it's different from college and the NFL. What sort of things from a coaching standpoint, how do you prepare these guys for college?
I think the biggest thing that we try to do is try to have them have a realistic expectations of what level of college they really need to be at. I'm fortunate to have a couple of great pros or ex-NFL guys on my staff that's been at every level. My D-line coach is John Blake, which is the head coach at Oklahoma, and I have Desmond Lewis, which is a receiver at Buffalo, that's on my staff. So there's a lot of mentoring going on that's trying to get these young guys to different levels and trying to continue their athletic career at the next level. But I'm also pretty upfront with them about how hard it is to get to the NFL, and the percentage-wise and the genetics that it takes for you to get there. A lot of kids have the work ethic, but they don't always have the 6'4", 285-pound body frame, and that has a lot to do with getting to that next level.
Moving on to the Giants right now and the NFL. I saw on your Twitter that you wanted the Giants to take a tackle. How do you feel that they took Andrew Thomas at 4 and invested in their franchise quarterback and their star running back?
Well, I think the Giants did a good job in the draft. You know, a lot of people, when they look at the draft, I always say it's never sexy when you're taking an offensive lineman in the first in the 4th pick. And I think people would have concerns with either one of those guys. And to me, what the Giants have to do is figure out which one best fits the Giants scheme. And apparently they felt that was the guy. But when you start talking about 1 through 3 or 1 through 4, you're still talking about 3 or 4 really good offensive linemen. Each one of them is going to have a negative, and you really have to weigh and see which one that's going to have the biggest impact on your program. I think with the one they chose was the safest one, is the one that you could almost guarantee was going to be a day one starter and have a long life in the NFL. You know, the rest of their picks, you know, I was happy with because, you know, they didn't just go out and get people. They went out and got people to address needs. And I felt like they wasn't building to win the Super Bowl next year, but in the future to have some success. And it's hard to go in and try to put a team together in 1 year to win the Super Bowl. It's a process you have to go through.
Do you think Isaiah Simmons was a probable pick at 4 rather than offensive lineman?
I do, but you know, you have as a defensive player, I would rather win defensively. I think if I had to pick, I would probably went with a Simmons or a rusher or some type of edge player. But I think from their standpoint, having to protect the quarterback and having to establish a running game and not having a quarterback that has to throw 35, 40 times, I think they felt that would create a bigger, faster success in that way. Those rushers, I still think they're not through in the free agency where they can come in and get a defensive lineman. But when you can establish a running game in the NFL, it takes the ball away from that other team, and it's also a great defense. So I think they felt that if they could address those needs, they could also help out the defense in those regards.
Giants GM Dave Gettleman, he has a big thing for offensive linemen and also defensive tackles, as he drafted Dexter Lawrence in 2019, B.J. Hill in 2018. One of the main purposes he expresses is not just getting to the quarterback, but stopping the run. How, as a former defensive lineman, how important is it to stop the run, especially in today's game?
That's what you have to do. You know, I think when you look at even like teams that haven't had success, like for instance Dallas Cowboys, I think that was one of the reasons why they were so excited about getting a player like CeeDee Lamb that makes teams not remove players from the box. As long as people can put 8 people in the box, they're going to shut down Ezekiel Elliott, and that makes that offense not very effective. It puts the ball in the quarterback hand, having to make plays down the field, and that's not what they want. They want to be able to run the ball, and if you can't run the ball, I say that there's certain offenses that don't have that dominant running game, but you also going to have a quarterback that's developed enough to get that done. And I think with the maturity of where our quarterback is now, he still needs a couple more years before you can put it all on his shoulders.
A good amount of sacks in your career with the Giants. You played with a mix of veterans and youngins on the defensive line, and with some solid linebackers. The Giants have a prominent pass rush. Should they keep trusting their developed or underdeveloped guys and let them grow, or should they go out and get a big guy from free agency, a more popular guy like Marcus Golden or Jadeveon Clowney?
I do think they need to bring in someone to help that pass rush. Not to say that those guys are there that won't develop into those guys, but they to me are way behind on the ability to get after the quarterback, and you're gonna need someone that can get out there and create a presence that can take a little pressure off that secondary and shorten that time the quarterback has to throw.
Giants, we touched on this topic earlier. Giants spent 3 picks on the offensive line in this year's draft. As a Giants fan, do you feel more confident in this group?
Well, I can't say right now. Those guys all look great when they're in college, but it's a different level when you get to the pros. A lot of those offensive linemen sometimes need time to develop. I don't think you're going to see immediate impact with those linemen. I think another year or two as they develop and learn the NFL scheme and the pace, and I think they can grow into being a really good O-line. But I just don't know, how they're going to relate to the NFL pace and playing against some of the defensive linemen that they're going to be faced with in this conference.
Joe Judge was hired from New England in January to be this team's head coach. Pat Shurmur's first press conference as a head coach was laughing and a fun time for all the media people there and even him there, while Joe Judge's was more engaging and serious. What are your thoughts on Joe Judge, and do you think him and the right coaching brings wins back to this team?
Wow, man, that's a tough one. I think when people talk about Joe Judge, they focus on his titles with the Patriots as special team coordinator and maybe not having been an offense or defensive coordinator, and maybe lose the fact that he's probably been around some good coaching and understands how to develop and build a team. He's one that I'm going to put in the category with those old linemen that, time will tell. He's been around a lot of good football, but, it's a big difference when you have to do it and build a team. Obviously the Giants saw something in him that they liked, and I heard he is a good coach, but it's a big role taking on an NFL team and being the head coach and trying to develop talent, especially at a 3-13 team.
Last and final question. Some Giants fans might not know your name. What do you want them to know about you? I grew up a Cowboy fan, and now I got drafted in 92 to the Giants, and I'm forever a Giants fan. My family, we catch every Giants game on TV, and we usually come up 2 or 3 times a year to catch a home game. So New York has been great to me. It gave me a great jump start in life, and it helped me become the person I am today. Right now I'm an athletic director in Texas, and I do some stuff with executive global tours and set up charity golfing trips for players around the league. So I think the experience that I got in New York is something that I'll never forget, and really set me up for my future. I think I would say more than a week from today, the NFL schedule comes out. Who, even though it hasn't come out yet, who probably, if you were to pick an opponent at home to go to a game, who would you pick? Like, I know my pick would probably be the Buccaneers, the Steelers. They're going to be an exciting game.
Man, I have to sit here and live in Texas and listen to these Dallas Cowboy fans. If I could pick a game to go to, it'd be the Cowboy game, and I would love to see the Giants stick it to them up in Jersey.
Well, it's been almost 4 years since we have done that, and we did it twice that year. And we've come so close to trying to win, and we haven't gotten there in the last couple of years. Stacey, I thank you for taking the time and coming on, and I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.
Alright. Okay, so that was the Stacey Dillard interview from earlier. Remember, our podcasts are available on Podbean, Spotify, and also right here on YouTube. Subscribe to this channel and like and comment on all of our videos. Follow our Instagram and Twitter at Bleeding Big Blue Podcast. There's a new episode coming out on Friday. Remember, the NFL schedule comes out sometime next week. I'll definitely be talking about that and making Giants record predictions. Friday, specifically, I'm going to be talking about what the depth chart is going to look like for the Giants this year and what could happen. This is Alex Guyvish Produce signing off. Have a nice evening, everybody.